Let's dive into Instagram Stories. Now, if you're brand new to Stories, what they are is vertical content made up of photos, videos, and graphics, and they automatically delete after 24 hours. And if you're thinking, why would I put something up that's going to be gone in 24 hours? I'll talk more about that in a bit. But they appear here at the top of your screen in the Instagram app. So they're these circles. And then if you wanted to watch any of the stories, you simply tap on one and they'll start playing. And if you want to skip ahead to the next one, you can just tap the right side of the screen, right side of the screen. Apologies to my friend Becca that I'm skipping through her story here for a demonstration. But those are Instagram stories. And these are different than feed posts, which are the part of Instagram that's been there since the beginning. That's what we see down below here. So to post to Instagram stories, you'll actually see my profile picture here on the top left. I can tap that plus sign to add to my story. But normally what you're going to do if there's already a story there is you're going to tap this plus sign up on the top right next to the heart. So I tap that. And then down on the bottom right, you see it says post, story, reels, and live. So those are all different places you can post on Instagram. And of course, we are going to focus on stories today. So I'm going to tap on story. And that brings up the Instagram Stories interface, which starts with the Instagram Stories camera, which is why you can see me talking now. So I'm going to go around the screen here in order, starting on the bottom left. So that little icon is actually your phone's camera roll. So if you wanted to post something to your story that you filmed or a picture you took before, you would tap there to go into your camera roll. And we'll circle back around to that here shortly when we put something up. Next, over on the lower right, that's to flip to the front-facing or the back-facing camera, just like in any camera app on your phone. Moving up from there, this little button right here, that's going to be your record button. So if I just tap that button, it takes a still photo. And then if I X back out and discard, if I hold this button down, it's going to record whatever I'm doing on the screen or whatever's on camera, right? So you can see that red line going around. That is the recording. You have up to 15 seconds to record a clip for Instagram stories. However, if you go over 15 seconds, watch when it gets back around here, it actually starts a new circle and you can actually do 4 of these in a row. So you can record up to a minute continuously. It'll just break it down into 4 15-second clips like you can probably see there at the top. Discard that, go back to our main screen here. Now I can also shuffle through, and these are different filters. So here's one called Smooth Skin. Oh, look how lovely my skin looks, right? That's called Smooth Skin. This one is called Mono, so it adds a different filter. So these are all different filters and effects. There's lots of, that's super creepy. There's some that are just kind of subtle like this. You can't see a whole lot. And others that are a lot more like, well, they give you sunglasses, hats. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can play with down here. You'll also notice with this one, there is an additional swipe bar above that now. That's called Glow, Lush. These are all different filters. Dreamy, Warm. So these are all different filters that you can add. And then again, let me see if I can find one that has, there you go. That's what you tuned into YouTube to see, right? I can turn myself into a scene queen, according to the filter. So we can X back out of that, and you can swipe through and play with those. It is nice, I'll be honest. You know, we all get self-conscious occasionally on camera. Nobody's like every day like, wow, I sure look good on camera today. I can't wait to post my Instagram story. So it is nice sometimes, throw a little filter in there if you're not feeling your best on a certain day. I do think you should come across as your authentic self as much as you can, but again, not a big deal to use something if it helps you feel more confident, because that confidence will go a long way. All right, moving back up the side of the screen now, we have this row of things on the right side. Can I point to them here? There we go. And these are all different sections that you can post to Instagram stories for. And so I'm just going to go through those in order really quick. So that first one is called Create. And that's kind of if you're creating something from scratch, maybe just a meme or words on a page. So you can bring it up, tap to type. Let's put in one of my favorite quotes there. Education without action is just entertainment. And then you can see down here at the bottom, I can swipe through all of these different fonts that I might want to use. So swipe through, choose the one that you like. We'll go with that one. Up here at the top, you can justify it. So I can tap that button and go justified left, justified right, or center. The middle one, you can actually change the color on things. I can go through and change the color by tapping down here. I'm going to leave that white because that looks the best. And if I tap that other one, you can actually add a little background swoosh to it. And then over here on the left, you can change the size of your quote and it'll adjust to fit the screen however you want, or your quote or whatever you typed. Once you're done with that, tap somewhere else on the screen and you'll kind of go back here. Now, if you want to change the background color down here on the lower right, I can tap through different templated backgrounds like that. Back on the main screen here, Boomerang is basically a short video that's going to repeat itself. So I tap on Boomerang there, and then what I would do, let me get something, a prop of some sort that I can use as a prop. And so what you're going to do is you're going to hold down the button to record, because it's going to record a short video, and then it'll turn it into an animation. So I'm going to try and hold still and do this. So I did that. Now it'll play over and over again, and that is an Instagram boomerang. Next below that is called layout, and so then here you can record or take photos and fill a grid like this. You can also choose different types of grids, as you can see. So if I wanted to take a photo here, I would tap the photo button, and then I'd do on the other side, I guess we'd do the other way. Tail of two faces. So that's what the photo grid is for. You could also come down here on the bottom, like I showed you, that's where your camera roll is. So that's what that layout tool is for. Next is multi-capture. So I tap on that. And that's essentially if you want to take a series of photos in a row to turn into Instagram stories without having to keep load. So I can sit there and take a photo, take another one, take another one, take another one. And you can see down here, they all loaded and it says next. Now, if I want to go through and I want to add a different graphic or something to each of these, for example, this would be a one thing that's really fun on Instagram stories is someone will tell a story, but they'll use all captions. So this might be, I had an interesting day. And the next one is, it's not how I thought it was going to go. You know, and again, these captions will be on the screen because not everybody watches their Instagram stories with sound on. And the next one was, I couldn't believe it when the police officer did blank, you know. So if you were going to tell a story through facial expressions, that's a fun way to use that one. Level is next. And all the level feature does is gives you a level so you know that you're shot at. So I guess if you're shooting a landscape or you wanted something to be perfect in a certain way, that's all it does. So you can see right now around my face there's that yellow box. That's because I'm holding the phone level. But if I tilt it ever so slightly, you see that goes away. Next up is Photo Booth, and this is kind of like those photo booth kiosks that you might see, and some of you may have never seen them before, but basically you go in and it takes 4 pictures in a row, each a couple seconds apart. So same thing, and I'll do it here just so you can see, and you would do 4 different poses, you and your friend or whatever it might be. It counts you down. And once you do that, it basically turns it into this flashing photo thing. Up, you can see I picked up my mic cable in the 4th one, but that's all it does. And then it kind of turns it into a video that you can add to your story. Just one quick thing that's kind of neat with this one, if you tap this, looks like a stack of cards, I think, at the top here, you can actually cycle through different types of transitions. So the default is that flash, but you can add all these different features if you want to these. Next feature down is going to be Super Zoom, and you tap that, and all this does is it does an automatic zoom with different features. So there's heart, there's fire, and it plays a song. So I think this bummer one was the first one they came out with, and it's kind of like when somebody gets bad news, it's like on an old school sitcom. So I'm gonna hold it down. You hold the button down to record on this one. But there's a whole bunch of different fun ones in here that you can play with. So hard to explain too much more about those except just go in and play with them. And finally, hands-free. This is, you know, normally to record a video on Instagram stories, you hold the button down. Hands-free means you don't have to hold the button, you just tap and it'll record until you hit stop. So lots of things you can play with there on the right. Moving up the screen now on the upper right, that is just an X. If you don't want to use this story, you just X out of that. It'll go back to the regular screen. The middle one, just like on your regular phone camera, is going to be whether you want the flash on, automatic, or off. And then on the upper left there, that's just a little settings icon. A couple things in here that are neat. If you want it to default to the front camera, you can turn that on so it always defaults to the front. And then you can also choose where you want your camera tools to be. So if you are left-handed and they're on the right side, you might want to flip them to the left side, like that. Now you can see they're all on the left side instead. So that's the basic layout of the screen, but that's just the first step of your creativity. But more important, the way that you're going to get people to engage, because the key to getting more of your followers to see your Instagram story is to get lots of engagement on your stories. So now we're going to load an Instagram story, and then I'm going to show you what you can do once you've taken the picture or video. So my family and I recently went to the zoo and saw these baby alligators. So I just grabbed this video off of my camera roll, and once you've chosen your clip or your photo, you can see that the screen changes a little bit, and we're going to go from the top to the bottom this time because that makes more sense. So starting at the top, that X is if, oh, I don't want it this one, I want to choose something else or record something else, you just use the X to go out of it. That next one is to download it. So if I tap that, then I can download this clip to my camera roll. Now this happens to be a video I just pulled right off of my camera roll, so there may not be much point into that. But if I've already added music to it or graphics or stickers, anything like that, then I might want to add it in there. The next one over is a link, if you want to add a link. Now if you want to add a traditional link, you have to have at least 10,000 followers on Instagram, which most of us don't have. But if I tap that, I can link to an IGTV video. That's why that's there. If you don't see the link sign at all, it probably means you have not set up an IGTV channel and or you don't have at least 10,000 followers. Next up is the sticker, and that's where most of the stuff is. And I want to come back to that in just a second. Next up is the sound. So right now it looks like a speaker that's on. If I tap that, I can mute the sound. So maybe you were filming a beautiful sunset, but meanwhile people are like yelling in the background, you can mute them out. Next up is just a little doodle tool. If you wanted to draw on it, you can choose a color, draw, sketch, write, whatever you want. Now, once you're in there, if you don't like what came out, you can tap that undo button and it'll undo things in order. And then there are also different pens and eraser tools up here that you can play with. And on the upper right, that is the text. This works similar to when I showed it to you at the beginning in the creator layout. Same thing here. You can see you can choose the fonts, the colors, the size, all of that. So back to this sticker one, which I think looks like a Post-it note with a smile on it. This is where most of the stuff you can add to your stories happens to live. Location means you can add a location for where you were. This can be helpful if somebody's browsing a location. They may not follow you, but they may see your story. At mention, this would be if you wanted to at mention somebody in your story. Once you start typing, they should come up at the bottom, and that just turns into image on your Instagram story. You can use your thumbs on both sides to rotate it, shrink it, anything like that. You can also tap some of these and it will change the way that they look. If you decide you don't want an element that you've added, hold it down with your thumb or finger and move it. And then you'll see this trash can has appeared at the bottom. Drag it down, throw it in the trash, it's gone. Hashtag is to add a hashtag to your Instagram story. You can do that. I can tell you, I haven't heard from anybody that's having big success adding hashtags to their story in the same way that they would be helpful on a feed post, but you could certainly add a few. The limit, I believe, is 10. Donation, if you work for a nonprofit, there's a donation sticker you can add in there. GIFs are the animated GIFs, just like you would think that they're all over social media now. So inside, they'll have some at the top that are trending. You can see it says trending right there. Or you could search for something. So I could search for gator, for example, with this particular video, and it brings up party hats, apparently. Okay, there's a gator one. So if I wanted that one, I would tap on it. It adds it to my story. Again, just like any other element, I can shrink it and raise it up just by using my thumbs. I can move it around the screen in that way. Next to that is music. Now, I'll tell you, the music sticker seems to be hit and miss, and it all has to do with the deals that Instagram has with the record companies in your country or region. So you may or may not have the music sticker, but if you have it, you come in, you can search for whatever you want. So I can search for Gator, and you're not going to hear the song in this video because I don't have the rights to these songs, but I can choose a song by tapping on it, and then I can add it to my Instagram story. You can tap on it, see I can tap on it and see the album cover, or I can just have that little title. There's some of them have even more than that. Also down here, you can slide this slider and choose what part of the song you want to play while your Instagram story is playing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. I'm going to keep this Gator song there. I'm just going to move this out of the way and shrink it down because I don't need people to necessarily know what it is. I just want that song playing about gators. Now, as you can see, there are tons of stickers that you can use, and you can just use this search bar. It'll search all the stickers, GIFs, different things like that. But I just want to go through a few more key ones. So let's get vaccinated. That's just one to put on to support. Where it says March 7th, that just adds the date to your story. That happens to be the day that this was recorded. Poll is a great one. In fact, I'm going to do a poll on this. I mentioned a few minutes ago, the way you get tons of reach on Instagram stories is by having people engage. Now, if they watch them and they don't skip them, that's a good sign. But if they engage, that's even better. So I'm going to ask, are baby alligators cute or scary? Then you can tap in and change what it says here. So I could say, so cute or super scary. So now you've got this poll. I can move it up wherever I want it. So we'll have it right there. So when somebody watches my story, they can just tap on so cute or super scary. That counts as engagement, which is great. As you can see, there are a ton more. You can do a quiz. You can have the current temperature. You can do questions, countdowns to a certain time. This is a slider where you can say, how cute are these alligators? And you can have it be scary to cute, for example. So lots of different things you can do in here. Once you've got your story the way you want it, down here at the bottom, first you've got send to. If you just wanted to send a story, you could create this and just send it to certain people. You can tap that. Or you can actually post it to your Instagram stories so that everybody can see. And at the bottom I have two options. The first one you can see is your stories, and you can see that Facebook icon. I have it set up so I can post to Facebook stories and Instagram stories at the same time. So if I tap that, it will automatically go up on both of those places. The other one is close friends. So I have a group of my Instagram followers that are in the close friends group, and then I can post stories just for them. So I'm going to tap that to post to the stories there. Now you can see my story on the upper left actually has a circle around it. That's because there's a story there. I can go through, I can watch it. So I tap on it. And there it is. So there's the video, and then there's the poll, and somebody can type or tap super scary. I just put it up, so I'm the first one to vote, of course, and that shows the results. Now, once that story's up, you might want to add another story to it. You just come back up here, tap the plus sign, go to story again on the bottom, and then you can add another clip, and you can keep adding them on. So when you see people with multiple stories in a row, they just keep getting added on, and then of course they go away when everything auto-deletes after 24 hours. Now I want to share a few best practices for Instagram stories that will save you a lot of time and stress, okay? First of all, the idea that you're supposed to come up with all this new content every day because it automatically expires, well, first know that even the stuff we post to the feed on Instagram often stops showing up in feeds after 24 hours. So even though people can still go see it, they rarely do. So that's just kind of a mindset thing that we all have to work through. But more than that, know that most of your audience won't see most of your stories. So when you come up with a story idea, post about it more than once. I just posted about filming videos today on my Instagram story. I did it again the last time I filmed. I did it again the last time I filmed videos for YouTube. Like every time I post a story about it. So you can post the same thing more than once. When deciding when to post, first think about when your audience is online and when it's convenient for you. Nobody should have to be getting up at 2 a.m. In the middle of the night, unless you're already up, to post an Instagram story necessarily. But think about when your audience is available. But the second thing is when you look at the stories at the top of the Instagram app, the order is determined by two things. One, it's going to show you stories from people that you engaged with and watch their stories the most. And then two, it's going to show you stories from people who have recently updated their stories. So if your story clip is 23 hours old, it's not as likely to come up near the front of that line as it would if it was 1 hour old. So you could argue that you could space your posting out in order to increase the chances to be at the front. But if you're going to do that, remember they auto-delete after 24 hours. So if you decided to just break a story into 3 parts and you posted them 6 hours apart, well, anybody who's watching 24 hours and 1 minute after the first one goes up, they're going to see the second clip and have no idea what it means. So just keep that in mind. And also don't post crappy stories just to be earlier in that feed there. Because if somebody stops watching and engaging with your stories altogether, like they just swipe away, you'll never be at the front of the feed, no matter how recently